I'm Rob Thomas, editor-in-chief of Club and Resort Business, and welcome to another episode of the Club and Resort Talks podcast. Today's guest is Ryan Pensy. He's the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Troon, and he discusses Troon's expansive golf management operations, managing more than 900 properties in 35 countries, employing about 35,000 associates. He says the future trends focus on reaching new golf demographics and adapting to marketing strategies to evolving customer preferences. We'll get to Ryan shortly after we go through the news, but I want to tell you first that the today's podcast is sponsored by Landmark Golf Course Products. Landmark creates custom-made furnishings and accessories for golf courses and clubhouses across the world. Using the finest raw materials such as the gorgeous rhino wood and highly sustainable easy care, they manufacture and tailor make products according to your needs. Learn more at rhinowood.com. It's RINOWOOD.com. Now that we got the sponsor taken care of, thank you, Landmark. Let's get to the news. We're going to start in Virginia. Golf course architect Scott Sherman, a longtime disciple of Pete Dye, will enhance Keswick Hall's Full Cry Golf Course in Charlottesville, Virginia. The property is hosting a 2025 U.S. Open Championship qualifier, local qualifier in May, and the 100th playing of the Virginia State Golf Association Women's Amateur Championship in July. They've got a big year ahead of them, and the golf course we'll be ready to host the best of the best. Next up, let's shoot on over to Pennsylvania. The Tofttrees Golf Resort and State College is undergoing a major renovation project at the hands of Jim Nagel of Nagel Design Works. Design planning is starting immediately, but no date has yet been set for construction to begin. It's going to be beautiful. They have the property there, from what I'm told, I haven't been there yet. I'm planning on going. The property there has some spectacular views and some movement through the golf course. So they're really looking to capitalize on that and invest in the property. It's going to be a whole property-wide renovation, but the golf course is, of course, the star of the show. Last but not least, let's head on down to Puerto Rico. Let's hit the Caribbean. Oh, I would love to. Uh, Audubon International has greenlit a development to pursue signature platinum certification in lovely Puerto Rico. Once complete, Essencia in Cabo Rojo will feature signature amenities and experiences for leisure, wellness, culture, and everyday living, including 2 golf courses, one of which is designed by Reese Jones, hiking and biking trails, spa and wellness offerings, sports and racket clubs, an equestrian center, and more. There's going to be a K through 12 school. There's going to be a beautiful town hall or a town city center. So look forward to seeing what Essencia in Cabo Rojo is going to entail. With all that taken care of, let's not delay any longer. Let's get to Ryan Pensy, VP of Strategic Marketing, Strategic Partnerships with Troon. He's coming up. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined by Ryan Pensy, VP of Strategic Partnerships at Troon. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Great to be with you today.
Well, thank you for coming. I always start off with the kind of a 10,000-foot view. So, I mean, Troon's obviously a huge name, the biggest name possibly in golf. Give us a 10,000-foot view of what Troon is all about.
Sure, absolutely. So Troon is the world's largest third-party golf management company. And so we have responsibilities management opportunities across over 900 properties in 35 countries. We employ over 35,000 associates. And in addition to golf, we also have a number of other business units where we are servicing kind of the entire industry. So whether it's through Caddy Masters or Club Up, which are 2 owned assets on the caddying services side, whether it is Peter Burwash and Cliff Drysdale Tennis, more now on the racket sports side, certainly focused on pickleball and the growth of padel. And then even through an events management company that Troon had purchased last year, Event of Sports. Troon has now started to expand what our offerings are, which is what is was really intriguing to me as I came into this role almost 2 years ago to lead strategic partnerships is how do we connect brands back with this large audience of golfers and racket sports players and travelers?
Well, happy birthday to Peter Burwash, I believe 50th. They just celebrated, so congratulations there. What makes, I think you probably teased upon it here, but what makes Troon's marketing assets and ecosystem so attractive compared to maybe other brands in the golf industry?
Yeah, what's really unique about what we have to offer is the insights around our golfing consumer. And so when you step back and you look at all of the different ways that brands can spend across golf, there are certainly those who have, significant tournament opportunities and media that comes around that and opportunities with, hospitality. But in a marketing opportunity and relationship with Troon, you really have the chance to reach that core consumer. How many times is someone playing golf? Where are they playing golf? Where do they like to travel to play golf? What are some of the other things that they're doing kind of in association with that? And so through our marketing channels, we have that ability to reach that core consumer. And we really look at it as a great way to almost bolt on Troon's marketing capabilities with others that are out there, whether that's across the PGA Tour, the USGA, the PGA of America, because we do bring something that is very, very unique in the space to really dial in and touch that core consumer.
So on branding, what trends are you seeing at Troon with the non-endemic brands entering the golf space? And what are some industries that are showing the most interest maybe with Troon?
Yeah, Rob, it's a great question. And one of the examples that I'll share with you was a deal that we had just announced earlier this year, which was with Fubo TV. And so here is, one of the largest streaming providers that's it's in the country. And they were not only trying to continue to tell the story of how they are the leader in sports streaming content, but all of the golf offerings that they have. And so as they started to look through kind of the portfolio of assets that Troon offers, not only was it reaching kind of the core consumers that we have and making sure that they were aware, especially for those who might be traveling. So if you were a snowbird and you come down to Scottsdale, but then go back home to Minnesota, you can have their service and not have to have multiple services that are out there. They also looked through and saw all of the folks who are Troon Rewards members or Troon Access members. They saw the folks that we have the ability to market to through our Icon portfolio and the HOA communities. And so as they saw the totality of what we had to offer, they said this is an incredible user segment that Troon had to offer and really was trying to help to meet the needs that they had from a marketing objective. So that's a really good example and probably one that historically in the past may not have looked at Troon as the vehicle to be able to deliver that message as much as it would have through maybe some other, maybe traditional golf mediums.
It's funny you mentioned Fubo TV because my next question had to do with Fubo, Visa, Nestle. I know when I play golf, I pull out my Visa card at the front desk. What are some of those your partnerships looking with like Nestle and Visa that go beyond some of the traditional sponsorships?
Sure. So the Nestle Premium Water opportunity really wanted to open up the official water of Troon across some of their marquee brands. And so when you think of San Pellegrino, you think of Perrier, you think of Essentia, these are a step up in terms of what types of different water offerings that they had. And so not only was it us being able to tell that messaging, but also from an event activation standpoint. So Troon just wrapped up in the last couple of weeks our 2025 Cobra Puma Pro-Am, which was at Pebble Beach. We had water offerings and sampling for all of our guests that were there. And so now we start to think of it from not only an experiential standpoint, but also the marketing side, and also for our clubs, knowing that we have this relationship and maybe they're not thinking of it through the lens of, do we have an opportunity to do paired water especially at that level, with a fine dining meal, which a lot of our private facilities would be looking to do. So that's an example there. On the Visa side, we were really looking for a unique offering that we have for their highest card holders. And that's what we've been able to do. And so a Visa Infinite cardholder actually has select benefits and playing opportunities at select Troon facilities, some of which are even private. So it opened up even a different level of access to those cardholders that they otherwise wouldn't have without that partnership.
Well, I'm not there, unfortunately, on my Visa card. So hey, I'll keep striving. I'll work my way to it. I'm going to throw out some big numbers here. 1 million opt-in consumers, 230,000 private club members. How does Troon use data-driven insights to enhance these brand partnerships?
Yeah, one of the things that we've been really excited about has been, the evolution of even what I would describe as Troon Digital. So last year, Troon hired Jeff Ma as the chief digital officer at Troon, and he has hired a really world-class group of individuals, kind of really throughout technology and through marketing. And the goal and the objective there is how do we start to best understand our consumer? And we're doing a fantastic job of it. And so where we can now really hone in is to see not only demographically, but also from a regional standpoint, it's a very different message to tell someone who is a Arizona golfer this time of year, right? They're playing golf and it's probably the prime season. Well, that's a very different messaging story than we would tell somebody who lives in Michigan or Ohio or Pennsylvania, where they might still be a couple of months away. And so our ability to really hone in on the specific details of where are those individuals playing, what is the frequency of their travel, who are they playing with, really gives us an advantage in the market.
So I get my true news from my buddy Rob Myers down there in your Arizona office. Others get it through magazines and newsletters. Troon's digital, print media assets. How do they help brands maximize their reach?
Yeah, I think when you look at the totality of everything that we have inside of the portfolio, and so to your point, if you walk into a Troon private club or one of our resorts, or even into some of the hotels that might be associated with the Troon golf facility, and you pick up a Troon magazine, and it's exactly what you'd expect. It's a coffee table style magazine, very well done. We supplement that with digital editions, and so it gives kind of a longer term opportunity for brands to have that level of exposure. Then when we shift into some of the other mediums that we have that are available, it's everything from tea time notifications, tea time alert emails, generalized newsletters that we have that are being sent out, crafted Troon Golf vacation offers that are going out to our consumers. And so we've really, thought about this in a 360 manner of how are different consumers and really looking at it through that lens of this isn't a one size fits all approach. And as we're trying to reach someone who might be a younger golf consumer, how are we doing that efficiently and effectively versus how are we reaching somebody who might be more of that core consumer who's still used to looking at the magazine or who might be only finding true information through certain channels. And so as we put all of those things together through social and digital and print, now we have a great way to be able to get out there and help those brands to reach their goals and objectives.
So Ryan, speaking of core consumers, Troon Rewards has I think more than 850,000 members. Big number. How are brands integrating with the Troon Rewards program to drive consumer loyalty and engagement?
Yeah, so it's a combination of how they're engaging with Troon Rewards and then the new Troon Access program that was launched last October. And so on the Troon Reward side, this is a program which is free to join. You're earning dollar for dollar based upon your spend, then having opportunities to redeem those for free golf and more. On the Troon Access side, this is a program now where we have a couple of different tiers where people can buy into the program and experience different types of discounts and benefits that they're able to have. And we've even grown that now into a very much community feel and experience where we're hosting events for that subscriber base. And so that continues to grow exponentially since it was launched back last October. And we're finding very meaningful but also authentic ways for brands to be there. And that's really at the core of what we're trying to do with both of those. If we're just putting things in front of our consumers that don't make any sense or don't have any rhyme or reason, well, the consumer trust then starts to fall. And so for us, the goal is how do we bring something For instance, like the Fubo TV, for example, for instance, we're bringing them a value opportunity tied back to golf as part of the relationship. And so gives them an opportunity to see that versus if we were just promoting some brand that was outside of the box. And so really that's how our team has approached trying to make sure that those relationships have that authenticity. But also then it comes back and it shows based on um, the activity that we will see and the consumption from our consumers. I mean, we're seeing incredible open rates on our communication to them, sometimes 50, 51% unique. And so we have to continue and always keep that in mind, as that's one of the most important things is to continue to have that brand trust and credibility with them.
Well, congratulations on that 50, 51%. I know 30% is a big number. So you're throwing 50 out there. That's very good. You touched upon this with your comment about the Cobra Puma event at Pebble Beach. I believe it was Pebble
Mhm.
Beach. What role do experiential opportunities like the Pro-Ams or exclusive golf events play in deepening brand connection with your golfers?
So, an example that we had this year, which was an incredible activation, was with Gosling's Rum. So, we had formulated a partnership last year with Gosling's to become the official rum of leisure for Troon. And, they had a number of different kind of milestones as to how they were looking to expand their brand presence across the Troon ecosystem. And one of which was through some event activations. And so, we were fortunate enough to be able to activate them on the seventh hole at Pebble Beach, and they were giving away an all expenses paid trip to Bermuda for the Butterfield Bermuda Championship in 2025 for anybody who hit a hole in one. But to have, branded Gosling's tee markers that were there and information, and everybody was excited about, not only the opportunity to play that hole to begin with, but also for this prizing. And then we added upon that from an experiential standpoint, as everybody was coming off of the 18th hole, we had a branded rum bar that was there that was serving dark and stormies and other kind of brand specific cocktails. And so there, not only were they being able to touch the consumers in kind of an experiential manner, having some of the prizing elements that were there, but then just being a part of the event as a whole. We were fortunate enough at that event to have both Malcolm Sr. and Jr. play in the event, and for them to be able to interact with our guests was an experience that I'm sure folks won't forget.
Probably best to save the dark and stormies for the 18th and not when you're on the tee at the 7th. All right. I mean, that's a pretty daunting tee shot with the Pacific in the background, the waves crashing and everything. You don't need a couple cocktails prior to. Maybe you do to calm your nerves. I don't know. I wasn't there. Um, Talk about like the evolution of brand partnerships right now. How's the approach with Troon evolved over the last few years, and maybe what opportunities you see emerging in the future?
Yeah, I would tell you that when I first joined the organization, the conversations that were being had, especially for a lot of the endemic brands, were, does a partnership guarantee me placement inside of a restaurant, inside of a golf shop, et cetera? And, you know, we were always, very forthright with them of, what we're trying to do here is really much more so a direct connection back with our consumer. And so whether we take a Nestle, whether we take a Goslings, whether we take a Visa, we're trying to put them in a position where their brand can stand out in the golf space, where it's not directly tied to, well, how many new green grass accounts are we going to be able to open up? And I think that was a big change. And I think as we've been able to educate those brands on what our reach is and what, we see and they see as success has been important to be able to grow those long-standing partnerships. And, that's really how I've approached these is we need to make sure from the start, not once we're in it or after the fact, but from the start, what is their expectation of what a successful relationship with us can be? And if there's any deviance to that whatsoever, that we need to be able to say, we know that we can fulfill on A, B, and C. D may be outside of the scope of a partnership that we have. And if there's other opportunities for us to be able to connect those brands with other individuals inside of our business, we're happy to do so. But understanding kind of where the marketing is versus where, potential account opportunities would be to grow.
So what key metrics are you using that to show the success, maybe long term in the short term? What kind of metrics are being utilized at Troon?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very data driven when it comes to how we're evaluating these opportunities. And so as we are constructing these partnerships, and as I mentioned earlier, we like to look at how, these different campaigns are performing. And so we are very engaged with our partners on a very regular basis. Sometimes it's weekly, other times it's biweekly or monthly, and we're sharing, what does it look like from a data consumption perspective? What does it look like from a click-through rate perspective? What are we seeing from an impressions and a goals perspective? What are we seeing in an event activation? And how many people came through? Are we collecting any information or data for those brands? So that's really the key for us is how do we identify upfront again what those goals and objectives are? How do we track back against those through all of our data and analytics and through our tool sets, and then be able to share back with them, consistently throughout the partnership as to how things are performing. It does us no good to just report on those mid-year or at the end of the year. If there's opportunities for us where we see, hey, if we've just sent out, three different types of message to perform the best, well, then we collectively need to make sure that we are aligned on how to make sure that our audience is adapting to whatever that brand marketing and messaging is versus just force feeding them something that's not applicable or not working as well.
Yeah, data is king, and having stuff readily at your fingertips is pivotal these days. I'll get you out on this one. I always ask our guests to take your crystal ball out. I should have given you a heads up on this. Maybe this is the curveball that you weren't expecting. Take that crystal ball out. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what are you seeing strategic partnership wise at Troon, maybe in the industry as a whole?
It's a very good question, Rob, and something I think about all the time because even as we look at the current golf demographic today, there is the kind of the older core consumer audience that has, disposable and discretionary income, maybe has been members of clubs for a long period of time. You have then this next wave of golf consumers who have been playing for a while, maybe are now starting to become members of clubs or playing a lot at, specific resorts. And then you have what I think of as more of this untapped market and how do we reach them through different types of marketing campaigns. And that can be, specifically focused on, new players into the game. That can be focused on, communities maybe that haven't had the experience or to be able to grow the game. How are we doing some of those things? And the growth of the game amongst women. And I think those are really important categories for us, especially as we're building marketing campaigns around, is to say, a marketing campaign that we would have that would be geared toward even our Troon Women's and Golf Month initiative and things that we might be doing there from a clinic standpoint and a brand perspective could look totally different than something that we were doing for a junior program or for something that was being tied into an older club profile. And so I think we have to be very cognizant as we continue, from a golf standpoint in totality, to understand who it is that's coming into the game of golf because we've seen a big rise since COVID of golf participation. And I always look at it through that lens as to say, who is that golf consumer that may have gone to a Top Golf or a Pop Stroke or a Golf Zone Social and they've had a great experience? And how do we then encourage that individual to come out and play golf at one of our facilities, whether it's taking lessons, maybe it's coming to a facility like Grass Clippings, which is under the lights and more of a par 3 environment. But it's a big transition to say to somebody who's had that kind of initial experience at a Top Golf, hey, now we want you to go to the first tee, standing there on a par 5, looking out on a hard dog leg right with water all down the right side. And so, no different than we think of how the golf consumer is adapting and changing. We also have to think about it through all of the different mediums that we have to reach that consumer from a marketing perspective, and making sure that all of our messaging continues to tie in with the changing demographic of who's playing golf.
100% chance my knees are shaking on that first tee, even though I've been playing golf all my life. Tough dog legs to the right with water on the right are scary for everybody, I would imagine. Ryan Pensy, thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy day to talk to us about True.
Thanks so much, Rob. Really appreciate it.